The numbers don't lie. Kirk Cousins is elite. As you watch the NFL playoffs this weekend, feel free to scream as you realize again what you already feared last weekend. Except for Tom Brady, there isn't a quarterback in the postseason who is significantly better than Kirk Cousins. As I'll show statistically later in this column, in the whole NFL only Aaron Rodgers joins Brady is entirely out of Cousins' class. Over the last 3 years, Cousins has proved that he is in a clump of a half-dozen excellent QBs, eyelash close in total productivity, who comprise the next highest quarterback rank. But as this weekend will underline, most of them have produced their numbers with gifted supporting casts of which Cousins can only dream in DC. All the Kirk-comparable QBs on view the next 2 days, like Drew Brees, Ryan and Ben Roethlisberger, have surrounding casts so electric that you wonder, what would Kirk do if he could throw to Julio Jones or Antonio Brown, not Jamison Crowder, or simply hand it to Le'Veon Bell or Mark Ingram, not Samaje Perine? The Washington passer, who's likely to leave DC in the coming months, could hardly have a better advertisement for himself than last week's 10-3 Jaguars win over Buffalo, when Blake Bortles and Tyrod Taylor threw 60 passes, many of them simple checkdowns, for a sickly 194 net passing yards. How many fans in Jacksonville and Buffalo are thinking, get us that free agent Cousins? Or recall the collapse of Kansas City, held scoreless in the second half of a 22-21 loss, as quarterback Alex Smith could generate nothing despite having the NFL's leading rusher Kareem Hunt, 1,329 yards, behind him and Tyreek Hill, 1,183 receiving yards, at wide receiver. The Chiefs' dilemma? They lost 1,032-yard tight end Travis Kelce. Will Sunday be Roethlisberger's final home game in Pittsburgh? What would Cousins, reduced in his final game to playing behind 2 third-string linemen, handing to 5th-string runner Kapri Bibbs and throwing to what route will he decide to run receiver Josh Doctson, give to have such limitations? From Denver to Jacksonville, from Buffalo to the Meadowlands, and maybe even in Pittsburgh, if Big Ben retires, teams will crunch numbers, study film and decide how many millions to offer Cousins in a couple of months, after the Redskins decide which tag to apply to their free agent. Just how good is Cousins, who had leading rushers the last 3 years named Alfred Morris, Robert Kelly and Perine, and who only had a healthy quality receiving core in one season, 2016. Don't get too nostalgic about Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garcon. They averaged 1,025 receiving yards per man in 16, but in 15 only 603 apiece. When the jury reaches its verdict on Cousins, it will conclude that usually he acted alone. Brees, Ryan and Roethlisberger have similar stats to Cousins, and in some areas not as good, but they have Jones, Brown and Michael Thomas who caught 1,444, 1,533 and 1,245 yards worth of passes this year. The Redskins have an atrocious record for 25 years in identifying quality wide receivers. I've written that column before. Cousins is just the latest victim. His top 3 receivers the last 3 years had 7,236 yards. Brees' top trios had 9,010. Ryan and Roethlisberger have Jones and Brown, who've caught 4,724 and 4,651 yards of passes the last 3 years. Cousins' top receiver, Crowder, has 2,240. About that Redskins contract offer to Cousins in 2015. Cousins is not a good quarterback, as the self-protective orthodoxy of some Redskins fans maintain. It's much more likely he is one of the next great NFL quarterbacks, along with young Carson Wentz and perhaps Jared Goff. Cousins and Russell Wilson, both 29, are headed for fine duels, too. Let's look at 3 key measures of quarterback excellence over the last 3 years. 1 is traditional quarterback rating. The top 6 are Brady, 105.0, Brees, 102.1, Wilson, 98.9, Ryan, 98.7, Rodgers, 97.2, and Cousins, 97.5. Some consider passer rating differential to be the mother of all NFL stats because it is such a good predictor of win-loss record and postseason success. If your team starts with a passer rating of 97.5, Cousins, you just need to build a quality pass defense with a passer rating under the league average, 85.1 in 17, to virtually ensure a playoff team with fine January chances. Brady continues to buck the old age trend. Let me introduce two new stats, which are tweaks on old ones. First, touchdowns versus turnovers. No, not the usual TD passes versus interceptions. I prefer all touchdowns, by pass or run, versus all turnovers, interceptions or lost fumbles. Why should Cam Newton's 21 rushing scores in 15-16-17 be ignored when Philip Rivers has 0? Also, let's acknowledge the gap between a fumbler, like Bortles, with 14 lost in 3 years, and a tight-fisted Roethlisberger, just 3. Looked at this way, Brady, with a 99-22 touchdown-to-turnover ratio, and Rodgers, 92-30, are almost in a different quarterback universe. The next most impressive group, with tons of touchdowns but half as many turnovers, or less, are Brees, 97-40, Wilson, 94-38, Newton, 97-47, and Cousins, 94-47. Some QBs have superb ratios, but are so ultra-conscious of ball security that they may generate fewer scores, like Alex Smith, 69-25, and Tyrod Taylor, 65-21. The leaders in total touchdowns are Brady at 99, Brees and Newton at 97, and Cousins and Wilson at 94. If Rodgers hadn't missed games, he'd be number 1. Next, let's cook up a new stat that consolidates all the plays in which the quarterback's performance defines the outcome: passes, sacks and rushes. Who averages the most yards per play when all types of plays are combined? In other words, who's best at gaining big gobs of passing yardage while also avoiding sacks, scrambling for gains and even running on purpose? Atlanta's Ryan, the 16 NFL MVP, is the leader over the last 3 years, 7.14 yards per play, followed by Brady, Roethlisberger, Cousins and Rivers. For total yardage, passing, running, minus sacks, the leaders are Brees, Ryan and Cousins. There's that guy Cousins again. If Cousins' stats, 97.5, 94.47 and 6.75, are elite, what constitutes a backup QB who'll kill you as a starter? That'd be cross your fingers Nick Foles, who'll have to start for the Eagles on Saturday. In the last 3 years in almost 500 passes, he's 75.3, 16-16 and 5.00. That's the make-do profile, like Brock Osweiler, 76.3, 34-30, 5.40, Blaine Gabbert, 77.5, 24-22, 5.38, or, in DC, Colt McCoy's career, 78.9, 28-26, 5.35. The clear message of these numbers is that Washington's owner, president and coach should all hug Cousins every day, roses are always nice, and offer him enormous piles of money, while he is still technically in town. Recently, Cousins said he wanted to spend his future playing for a franchise that was a winner and gave him a sense of peace, plus lots of money, too. That doesn't sound like DC, but you never absolutely know. However, if Cousins gets away, fans can still watch him play in the future. Probably deep into January. Maybe February, too. Read more NFL news, NFL Division Weekend picks. Eagles and Jaguars will upset the Eagles. Want Foles to be Foles, which may not be enough. NFL scoring was down this season. Fan Forum. Cousins plays it coy about